Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the last week in esports. My name's Trainer Jared, and as always, we've got tons of stuff to cover. We had a huge Overwatch 2 announcement. We have Riot Games having big layoffs and obviously some big games over there. We have Dota 2 qualifiers, CS2 qualifiers, Rocket League qualifiers. There's tons to talk about. Without further ado, let's dive right into it.
Baker, what was that?
Cloud9 are your E-League Major champions!
This is Rocket League!
So we talked about it a few months ago where Overwatch decided to call it quits with the Overwatch League, or OWL, and they said, this is only temporary. We just want to redesign our esports environment and ecosystem. Perfect. It's needed. It's a new game. Well, it's a new game. But it was finally announced this week, and it's got some massive changes, so let's dive right into those real quick. First, they will now have open qualifiers for their tournaments, which is, I think, super interesting. I love watching it in Rocket League. I love watching it in other esports as well. I think Overwatch is a perfect one to implement that. And so hopefully we'll see some new up-and-comers. Another one that's really important to a lot of people is having a shorter off-season. People don't like going months without watching their favorite esport. And so Overwatch 2 is now going to have a shorter off-season. Big news there. I hope they have plenty of events to cover most of the year, but we'll see. This is going to be their first year of this new ecosystem, so probably going to learn a lot. They also have a new partner. They're going to be facilitating all of their games and tournaments through Faceit. I am not the biggest CS player, so I've really only delved into Faceit once or twice, but I'm assuming this is good news. I'm not even assuming. This is good news, I think. Having a staple like Faceit help be a partner in your new esports environment, I'm all here for it. So really big news coming out for Overwatch 2. This is desperately needed. It's that time of the year. We got to get the esports up and running. And with these new regions, it's going to be, I think, a super interesting Overwatch 2 season for 2024. Over the past week, we had the Counter-Strike 2 Blast Premier Spring Groups 2024 tournament start. And I think it was fantastic. Sure, C9 fell short, whatever, but we actually had 6 teams qualify for the spring finals. Through uppers, we actually had Navi, FaZe, Vitality, and Virtus Pro. And then through lowers, we actually had G2 and Astralis. So those 6 teams have now qualified for the spring finals. And then the spring finals are going to be happening in March. So between now and then, there's going to be another tournament where they get the rest of the teams that are going to be participating in spring finals. But first week of this Blast Premier tournament went off without a hitch. I think it was very well put on. The teams obviously played, the good teams played really good. The teams that didn't make it played really bad. Cloud9 definitely played like crap, and I'm going to flame them for it. But outside of that, it was a great event. Super excited. Blast is doing great stuff, and now they're branching out into other esports. But CS2 is looking to be a really competitive and beautiful esport. Now, for League of Legends, I had another video earlier this week, or I guess last week now, that talked about the Riot Games layoffs, and it impacted, obviously, people all across the company. So we're not going to dive too deep into it today, but we're going to mention that, 11% or around 530 people at Riot Games were let go last week. And that has affected a lot of parts of their esports ecosystem, especially in the LEC. So everyone was worried this week going into LEC's like esports production and streams because they only have like one observer now and they've cut back on engineers. And it went well. Not saying it was a good move by Riot, but it went off without a hitch this time. So we'll see what happens in the future. Well, let's dive into actually the esports news. And the hot topic today is that Karmine Corp has won a game. Nobody tells Karmine Corp they're going to go 0-8. So Karmine Corp won a game. I think it was versus SK Gaming. So they're 1-7 now. Still the bottom of the leaderboards in Europe and has no chance of qualifying for playoffs. But they have a win on the board. So congratulations to KC. I mean, that's just a pity. And that team will grow, right? They'll get there. But the LEC is looking, honestly, not that great. Even the top teams right now, like G2, just don't feel like they're all that special. So we'll see what the LEC has to offer this year. I'm not saying that NA's catching up, but NA's catching up. But also NA with the bad news that Cloud9 lost a game to the worst team in the league. Cloud9 now shares a 3-1 record with NRG and FlyQuest, but NA is looking to be making another speed run to an airport in the international competition. LCK is starting to really show what its true colors and what it always ends up being. It's the Gen.G and T1 show. Gen.G's holding a 4-0 record in first place. T1 is 3-1. Zeus is looking like just the best player in the world as always. I think he had like a 1v4 play this week on Yone. Just don't let him have the champ. Either way, that region's looking great. LPL looks a little bit all over the place. It's still early there, but we still have BLG in first place. Other notables like JDG and LNG are sitting in like the 5 and 6 spot. We'll see. It's still super early for the LPL, but once they start to figure their stuff out, I'm sure the standings will really shake up and look kind of normal. Now, I mentioned qualifiers. Of course, we have to go to Rocket League. They had the North American Open Quals 1 happen this week, or this weekend. And it shook out, of course, kind of how it's usually anticipated. All the big name teams made it out, plus a few others that is super exciting. We've got Squishy's team made it out, even though they're not signed and they're just having fun. Squishy's, final esports circuit, I guess, is happening. We had Frosty's team, who you might remember he signed with NRG, then was dropped by NRG before LCS began, and then he formed a team called like the Snowmen, and they've made it through. Those 16 get narrowed down to top 8, and the top 8 will play in the playoffs for obviously points in the RLCS. So super exciting. I love Rocket League, and the competition's looking better than ever in all regions. But also, it's important to note that I think Blast Premier is finally going to take over the broadcast this week. There were none for the quals, but I think they said they're going to be there for Swiss stage and playoffs. We'll see. No one's really, I think, confident yet. We haven't heard much from Blast about this, but we'll see. I mean, I'm excited for Blast as long as they do it well and take over and make things happen. And this week will be the first trial for that. ESL 1 in Birmingham is happening in April, but we already had qualifiers start for North America, and we had Shopify Rebellion take the series and take the whole thing with a 3-2 finish over Team Nouns, which, if you watch any of it, it was all Shopify Rebellion, and it was all Nouns all week. And then, of course, Grand Finals, it has to go 5 games. Shopify Rebellion take it 3-2. With that regional qualifier, Shopify Rebellion have now confirmed their spot in Birmingham. And we have other qualifiers coming up. There are going to be 4 regionals, and that one was the North American one. So we've got 3 more, all getting ready for what's going to culminate into the ESL 1 Birmingham finals in April. So looking forward to that. Dota 2, I'm trying to learn more and more about it. This game is crazy. And obviously watching that Game 5 Grand Finals was a ton of fun. So congrats to Shopify, and congrats on getting that spot. As always, thank you all so much for watching and hanging out this week. Please like, comment, subscribe, click all the buttons. I appreciate it. But for next week, we have obviously the continuation of a ton of stuff. We have the Rocket League Swiss stage and playoffs that is going to continue to be able to give out points for the RLCS standings. We have CS2's IEM Katowice 2024 going to start this week. Keep an eye out for that. It's going to be amazing, and plenty more. So thank you all for watching, and GG's.